Video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 through the town website at www.eastham-ma.gov. All right,
And declare we have a quorum.
well, we have a quorum. Okay, we're good. Opening statements. I'll open it for opening statements, and then I think I have a few before we get to our discussion. But you have opening statements?
I don't.
Okay, Angie? No. All right, so I will open it up. So some of the materials that were shared ahead of time are, one of them is our current draft of the plan, for which we obviously want input from everybody. But also what we want to discuss, I think, today a little bit is process and involvement of the members of this committee on the go forward. There was something called high-level strategic plan framework was one of the many attachments that Paul kindly sent out, which kind of is just strategic planning 101, but go through the steps on the go forward, just to ask people to begin to think about your role as a member of the committee and what you're interested in and able and can commit time to doing in terms of working on development of the plan itself, community engagement, collaboration, communications, and then finally reviewing, adapting, and monitoring progress of the plan on the go forward. I think those are really important things to talk about now. I think everybody on this committee has unique and distinct expertise and experience that we bring to this committee. And so we want to hear from everybody through your own lens and your experience. And so that's important. So just not to necessarily be answered today, and especially since Roy and Mike are not here, but just to think about how you want to be involved in this, both in the development and then in the implementation and then the ongoing. Right. So I just want to put that out there. Does Michelle, anybody want to add to that? Or?
Is it like us as an individual or us as the committee? Like, are we going to monitor as the committee? Have we answered that? And then how do we want to participate in that? I'm just wondering, is there like a committee role question first and then us? You know, like, I don't know what our role is after this thing gets published.
Well, I think that's the question, right? So once we have a plan and we have our goals and objectives high level, we need to work with
Is that this?
that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, that's thinking about those steps. Yeah. Once we have that, and then I think we need to work with town staff to get the actual activities, timeframes, who's responsible, how do you measure progress. That's a kind of a detailed scope of work. But then what? Then, once it's implemented, if we're going to go back quarterly, this has not been decided. Who does that? So does Michelle take planning, and you take housing, and I take public health, and then we come back individually, and then we come back together as a committee? So that's a good question. I don't know, Paul, what do you think?
So in the charge for the committee, when it was last updated, it kind of broke it out into plan update years versus active plan years, and active plan years, once the plan is initialized, really the role was to review new projects, opportunities, basically be a support advisory capacity to staff. And that's why I mentioned, like, when things come up that aren't in the plan, but it's a opportunity that kind of drops out of nowhere, but do we go with it or not? This group is like an advisory, like, does it have a place in this? Should we prioritize it? Whatever, that kind of stuff. And the mechanism for just kind of involvement with the town meeting warrant article process. So that just kind of generally what it was, but I think to your point, just drilling down, like, how does that actually happen? And I will say, this is where we got hung up the last time, and Karen will recall this too. It's just like, does everyone get an assignment and like Michelle is like,
Planning committee.
yeah,
Yeah.
just, or is it more just this committee's here and staff and other folks bring things to the table when they feel like it's needed, and we never really found our footing with that. And one of the reasons that I had difficulty with it is it's just like, another person kind of getting involved from the outside, where it's like, okay, well, this Michelle's coming around to the rec department asking, have you made just that kind of thing. It wasn't a good mechanism. Whereas, you're trying to do your due diligence, do what you're trying to do, but then you're also like asking staff first. I just was never a good mechanism. So I think whatever the discussion would be, what you think would work. And then I think it's a discussion also with Jackie.
Oh, absolutely.
How do we integrate this group, and so that you can carry out the charge, be effective, feel like you're contributing. And this is all the long way to say, we never got our footing, and I think all the committee members just kind of like were spinning their wheels, and then it was like, well, we can't get the information we need, because a lot of it was like, well, I need, can we get the report? Can we get the update on this? What's the statistics since the last time? And that was kind of also outgrowth of not having the right metrics, because we couldn't get the committee the data they wanted and the reports they wanted, so they couldn't really monitor. And then it just became a whole other more work just to try to get this data, and we were chasing ourselves. So it kind of all just fizzled out. So that's kind of like, we don't want to repeat that.
Okay, no, that's helpful.
Well, it seems to me that once the plan is adopted, that the role of the town manager is to direct staff to work on the plan, and to, like managing staff, to work on the budget and to be within the budget. It's up to the town manager to make decisions about priorities and new previously unknown projects that come up, to reflect whether or not they're within the plan and the priorities of the plan. And I don't necessarily think that we play a routine role, every month or even maybe every quarter on doing that. That's part of the role of the town manager, and also the select board. The select board has liaisons to all of the committees in town. That's already set up. And the select boards when they adopts a strategic plan. And so part of their liaison role is listening and watching with the committees if things that we haven't talked about come up. And if something significant comes up, that there's a question of whether it warrants bumping another priority within the plan, then the select board person could raise that issue to the select board. They may kick it back to us and say, we need your advice. We'd like to have your advice. But I don't see us necessarily being the monitor for day-to-day activities. I think that just like we wouldn't be monitored. The finance committee isn't the monitor for the staff level budgets.
But aren't like taking the budget as a parallel. So I totally agree with everything you said.
Right.
The question is, if the lesson learned from the last 5-year plan is these mechanisms weren't effective.
Right.
To kind of track progress, or are we veering off, or are we spending all our money on something that isn't articulated in the plan, or just as budgets are reviewed periodically,
Right.
How would we see sort of that happening with this? And then what role, if any, I don't have an answer. I'm just
Well,
asking.
I'm kind of,
Does it live in the select board that they do a periodic review of reconciliation of, are we green or red or yellow or whatever on this plan, or are we spending all our time doing something that isn't even articulated?
I would think it would reside with the town manager.
I agree.
Just like the town manager gets financial reports, reviews them with Rich, reviews it with the staff as appropriate. And then there is a financial report that goes to the select board. But it's up to the town manager to get the report prepared and present it. So there could be a periodic reporting, but it shouldn't be us going to the committees and us going to staff. It should, that I think should funnel up through the town manager. And if the town manager has a question or needs support or advice, you know, certainly
Come back.
we'd be there to do that. But just like the finance director, Rich prepares, it's not his title, it's I forget, assistant manager for finance. He prepares financial reports that go to the finance committee and ultimately then to the select board. I would think that there would be some form of a report, but it comes up through the staff, not us going to the committees.
I just have one other question though. Is there any role given, like, if you were to take our names out of it,
Right,
there is representation on this committee from members of, like,
some committees, right,
some, not all of them.
right.
But certainly the regulatory ones, right?
Not all.
Not all of them, not so
No.
many.
So,
Okay.
and that's for purposes of developing the plan, not monitoring and
Got it.
implementing
Right.
Got it.
'Cause-
I'm just wondering if there's anything like that comes up in health that you're realizing in running the board that is so out of sync. Is that
So I would think then, I'm gonna go back to what you're saying.
Jackie? Or-
Jackie and then the health agent, you know. So when we have responsible parties, so maybe it's Hillary, maybe it's Susan, I don't know who it is. But they're responsible, they funnel up to Jackie.
Makes sense.
It's not. So that makes complete
makes
sense to
I
me.
think it makes some sense. There could be, I don't know what the frequency is, semi-annual, I don't know. Assuming that the town manager might be doing some across the committees, across staff review. That could be shared with us in a, here's how we're doing. I think the value of that is early warning. I'm not trying to, that's not the right word, I mean. The value of doing something like that in some somewhat infrequent, but not never way is just as a reminder to everybody, we have a strategic plan. We are trying to follow the strategic plan. We are trying to monitor how we're doing. And assuming that all the work we're doing on doing the metrics gets reported up to the town manager, there could be a semi-annual report from the town manager to the select board. And we could review the report perhaps before it goes to the select board, something like that, where we're involved because we've had such detailed knowledge of the development of the plan, but we're not the ones that are doing the monitoring, because I think, again, I think that's a staff function and committee function. But all the committees have staff, all the major regulatory committees.
Yeah.
So we also have now the practice of providing the update in the town meeting warrant,
Right,
which maybe that's
the annual check.
the annual, but if we set ourselves up for success in having better metrics and easier reporting, then maybe that's the thing, like, you know, leading up to before the, you know, when the town meeting warrant has to get printed, what content is going into that update, and the committee, you know, that's where the committee meets in the spring at some point, and we kind of have, here's at least the annual report on progress on the whole plan, and then you know, this year or next year may be a little bit different, like in how, if we have great metrics on all this stuff and maybe the way we do that update is different. In the past, we've just been picking kind of like making it more like anecdotal success stories and some data. So maybe the content changes, but even if it doesn't, at least that's like a review of like, okay, here's progress. Do we just pick the highest priority things or the best kind of success stories to put in there? But that's a way that the committee can at least once a year meet, vet the progress, get an update, and then participate in the content of what should go into that warrant article update, and then
Yeah.
at least
No.
that's something. And then, you know, and I always maintain, if at any point during the course of a year, the committee needs to meet, because like I said, some opportunity to buy a piece of property is presented itself, or we need to get an advisory opinion the select board wants to hear. I mean, that's always
Right.
available.
Right. Well, because, well, a corollary kind of question for me is, it came up at the library, was there's a whole bunch of stuff the town routinely does, importantly does, that's not mentioned in the strategic plan at all. A good example is fire, police, some of the other departments, water department, I guess it's learned about. Yeah, the schools, right, but they're not even part of the plan. And yet they're highly important and visible, both visible and highly important for the community. So I don't, that's why it feels to me like it's a staff thing, because those departments report up to the town manager and whatever, you know, ongoing reporting and monitoring the town manager's doing,
Well,
those. they
Unless we
participate
feel
as well.
excellence in town services.
I was just gonna say, I would offer that I think those things should be included somewhere in the plan. At least I mean, I'm not sure exactly what detail and level, but why would they not be?
Well, I wonder, that's why I wondered if it made me think in strategic plans that I've done sometimes in the past, is that the plans are focused on, the strategic plan is focused on making changes, taking on new projects, making sort of new things happen. The day-to-day work that's being done is still being done. The plan doesn't address that specifically because we're not making changes. Other than excellence in town service and appropriate staffing. And so maybe a paragraph or two to talk about that don't assume because something's not addressed in the plan, that doesn't mean the town's not gonna do it. We're gonna have a library, right?
Yes.
And the library is gonna run really well. So I don't know if that's the way the plan was approached in the beginning and the goals that were picked.
Well, and I think to that point, Carolyn, there's also sort of this, which I took from the library, the alignment or the marriage of the budget with the
Right.
strategic plan.
Yes.
And that then serves as kind of a communication vehicle up and down, like to Jackie and this way. So you know, I mean, it can't be just like financial reports get delivered.
Right.
So there should, I would imagine, I'm a very structured person.
Really?
It'd be nice if there was some kind of structure to this
Right.
that even took some of where the budget lies, and aligns to, you know, goal 1, goal
Right.
2, goal 3.
Yeah, I mean, early on, and I think I've lost it over time, I did try and do that. I looked at the budget, I looked in the town warrant, and I wanted to make sure that everything there was there. So I actually think even if we're not making a change, if it's just maintaining the library, it should be in there somewhere. I don't think we should exclude it.
So maybe there's just, I don't know, Paul, what do you think about that? The idea of just a paragraph or two that says the plan is focused on these goals and objectives. There are other ongoing routine things that the town, that's not the right word, maybe, but that the
The
town,
dailies.
yeah,
I think that's why we put the excellence in town services as a separate goal.
It is. What, I don't know,
And
I'm babbling on.
Well, I mean, I think that's what we set up, like, the plan doesn't cover everything.
Right,
It's just meant to identify the highest priority projects
and
and,
project's the key word, I think.
yeah, I mean, I think it's good, you know, we can add some narrative so people put it in context, like, don't, this isn't the totality of what we're doing.
Yes, I think we just need that.
Yeah.
You know,
okay,
I think certain things like in the town services section speak to overall thing, like when we're talking about maintaining staffing levels and things like that, that is kind of globally addressed like for every department, because we would be looking at that,
yeah,
right,
but all the other sections are really like specific projects or initiatives that have to happen in addition to the day-to-day
right,
stuff. And I think we have reported on things with like police and fire. There's not a lot of like operational stuff in there. But all the hazard mitigation and that kind of stuff, it does relate to public safety functions.
Yeah.
But
some of that does, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, there are. I think we've captured in some way, probably almost every department in some way, even if it's not like specifically assigned to somebody, it's gonna touch on that. And then in that annual reporting, we have always put in just some data points anyways about, you know, how X amount of, police fire calls, or, I forget which ones we put in, or we got more people signed up to code red or things. So, I mean, we kind of just sprinkle in some of that data, or we increased library circulation by whatever, so even though those things aren't specifically data points in the plan, I think we've always just kind of said, well, here's something we can put in just to round things out, which I think is
Does
fine.
Jackie have like an operational plan like that, and then this sits on top of it, the strategic, like, in other words, we wanna improve call response time by X for 2024. Is there an operational excellence or operational plan that is more, that covers the daily stuff?
I don't know that she has that. I mean, we probably talked to her about that. I don't, but I think.
Like, how does
This
she,
plan-
the police chief? What are his KPIs? I mean, the question is, are there metrics associated
unless
with
the
that?
Rich have it, is it a financial plan that they,
No,
no?
No,
I wouldn't
Okay.
think.
Okay. I mean, you have a budget, right, so,
Well, maybe under the excellence in town service objective, maybe that's one of the actions is to develop a town staff metrics for how we measure that
performance.
performance.
Mhm.
It is
It's in there.
performance.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's for all departments, not just those mentioned in here, right?
Right.
It is, and it is in here somewhere.
Yeah, I think I remember
Yeah,
seeing
it's
that.
in there, but there's a whole nother level of detail underneath this, right,
Okay.
which we're not seeing.
Right, so we're talking about two different things.
Yes,
So back to the role of this committee.
Yep.
And monitoring.
Mhm.
I like, Paul, I like your idea of annually, when it's time for the annual report, that's going to go into either into the town warrant or the separate document that gets handed out at the town meeting. That Jackie helps to organize, and then we review before it gets published. The review of the progress that we've made on the strategic plan.
I think that's at least one thing we could do. And I guess the rest of it will shake out once we figure out what these metrics are and
Right.
I mean, if a lot of it is just like, yeah, it's easily print a spreadsheet, I mean, then maybe a lot of this stuff can be more frequently reported on and just provided to this group again, but that was what we struggled with, is just like collecting the data and doing a
Right.
report just became all these other, a burden to all the staff to do. So that, again, that's what we're trying to work on. We want something, what are we already reporting? Let's use that. And if we're doing that, that means it's usually like,
Right.
we have a template, we have the mechanism, spit out the report or easily compile. And the other piece of that is, and I think we need to talk with Jackie more about this, but Jackie has town manager reports that she puts in to the select board monthly. I think monthly or quarter, monthly. So
I think so.
again, if this all flows together and this is the plans in there, the metrics are there, that's something that, and she asks staff, like, what do you have to put into the report? So I mean, this helps her.
Right.
And it also creates a mechanism where if she's
Yeah.
gonna do that, staff knows that they're gonna have to do a report, and whether that's everybody every month or we
However, she decides
break it
to.
up different cycles, then.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
think we have some building blocks. I think it's just next time we can have Jackie. But
Yeah,
next time we want to talk about this, we'll make
Yeah,
sure
we'll have
Jackie can
Jackie.
come.
Okay, so with that answered.
Right, and then I think just related to that. Things are going to come up for the town, I would assume, because we're not all knowing in any way, but things are going to come up that are going to cause priorities to shift.
Mhm.
We don't know what they are.
Yeah.
It seems to me those are Jackie and the select board decisions, not our committee decisions.
No, but they could come back to us to say, can you amend, update, help us to update the plan to reflect X, Y, and Z? Because I think that was in what you shared earlier,
Yeah.
Paul, that's
Yeah.
part of our charge.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
My other thought was, like typically when there's a 5-year horizon, in my experience, and again, it's in like the corporate world, every year,
Right.
there's a strategic
Of just a-
offsite or
the
something,
retreat of
a
some sort.
retreat
Yeah. that's what
where
we
you
usually do.
actually go deep. And you go, did we get this all wrong? Or some natural disaster happened, or the pandemic,
Or
or,
just-
or it doesn't even have to be that,
No,
it could
just-
just be.
We thought we'd get this done in 1 year. We're
Yeah,
delayed,
it's-
it's gonna take 2 years.
So I think a deliberate.
Yeah.
Calendar,
Annual
offsite
update,
retreat, whatever you wanna call it, and the committee and Jackie and we can be the. The hands on deck to.
Are you saying with all the committees?
No,
No.
I'm think the
strategic
strategic
planning
planning
committee,
committee.
Our committee and
Has-
Jackie.
and Jackie and whatever staff she wants
Has
to involve.
a retreat offsite day or
Well-
time or a set of meetings that are just to review the plan. Relevant.
There's something to think about maybe is, that we'll have the plan, but then maybe this group wants to have a separate document. Here's a recommendations type of thing of like
Mhm.
how to
An implementation.
implement
guide.
this, where something like that would be, recommend you set this process up, and here's how we think it would be best to have,
Yeah.
this time of year would make sense, and having
Right.
at least
Yeah.
at minimum these staff people or whatever. I think that, and again, at least that's something, doesn't have to be in the plan, but it's just kind of like
Right.
an
No,
offshoot of here's
Right.
a separate document from this committee saying, here's an implementation recommended implementation document.
And then my other question is there a best practice in towns to do a rolling 5 years? So in other words, what happens when we get to 2028? We have a 1-year left plan, and then we scramble in 2029 to put a 5-year plan together. I'm just wondering if when we do this process, again, my experience is then there's another outlook for another year on, assuming some of this stuff rolls forward.
Another year extended.
Another
Yeah.
year, I just don't know what a best practice is in towns. Is it just a static 5 years and then you do another 5 years and then you do another?
I don't know what the best practice
Yeah.
is, and I guess there would be something for us to, another recommendation, like, do we
right.
do a 1 year ahead, or or at least, do we set up the schedule that we're embarking on the next static 5 year, but we're doing it with enough buffer?
Right, because
we kinda just-
every year you're moving forward,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like, I'm thinking with the current plans that we have, like the housing production plan and the open space plan, and is that each year we use those, their, and the CPC plan that we just did, their 5-year plans. During that 5 years, we're looking to the plan for guidance and direction in terms of what we should be doing. And we're monitoring how we're doing against the plan, but we don't really rewrite the plan during that time period. We just keep track of where we are. So that we don't get into spending with limited staff resources. Time every year rewriting the plan, because as soon as you say you're going to rewrite it or update it, things come out of the woodwork and it takes.
I'm just wondering if you can tag things out to a future year,
Right,
you know, it's
yes,
do a
Like
draw
capital
Yes.
projects would always
Right.
be out, right?
right,
That's
right.
just.
Yeah.
nature
but like
of
the open
game.
space
Yeah.
plan is from 2006.
oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that, okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
too, with
it
this plan, it's meant to be like updated on a rolling
Yeah.
basis, so like,
absolutely.
you know, if the day, you know. First day after we get the plan, some action item was totally completed. We should, this is just a functioning of how we set up the document, but yeah, just easily update it and.
Yep.
Strike that out with a note completed or whatever, so that when you're going online, you're always looking at the most recent.
Right, and as new things come in, unanticipated
Right.
things, you're adding them in.
Yeah, we didn't really do it either, like, again, this is just the process, we
Right.
didn't have a good process, so we kind of like.
I mean, new legislation could happen that says either you can't do something that's in the plan, or you better by now.
No,
do
I
something
think
else.
this one will flow again, because
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that we just did, like, a lot of the stuff were action items that we were supposed to. Do something, and it's like, yeah, we looked at it and we were supposed to do it, but we determined it's not viable.
Right.
So we basically abandoned that.
Mhm.
But that's not reflected anywhere until you update the plan this time.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
like,
So I-
it wasn't until we started doing the audit of like, this was done, this is non-done, this was abandoned because it's not viable, like that stuff. I think, and that helps with our reporting, because then like, whatever it is, monthly, quarterly,
Right.
twice a year. We've updated the plan.
Mhm.
So, but in answer to your question, Michelle, one, I don't know what the best practice is, but we can look that up, but I too have had, my experience has been it's a 5-year plan, it's a 5-year plan, it's a 5-year plan. And part of that is just bandwidth.
Yeah.
On everybody's part, even the staff.
I understand.
So,
Well, certainly not to rewrite it,
Hmm.
but just to sort of.
To keep track.
well, you wanna update it on
Yeah.
an ongoing basis, but it's same part, so,
Got
but
it.
then things get added, things get subtracted, so by the end of the 5 years, you're actually in a different place than you started, but.
Right. And I think, hope that your SWAT thing, that's a good thing to do at the retreat.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
like what threats.
Actually, Saturday, I'm doing a strategic planning.
But I mean,
retreat.
that's exactly,
Yeah.
okay, what threats are facing us now?
Oh, yeah,
That
an
we
environmental
didn't know
scan.
about in
Absolutely.
2024. Right?
Yeah.
It could be climate craziness, it could be
I call it an
regulatory.
environmental scan, and I
Okay.
usually put together a bunch of
So we
data.
have 10 minutes before she leaves.
Okay, so, all right, so I think we have an answer to the question, thank you. We need to meet with, next steps, we needed to meet with Jackie, we need to develop an implementation guide. We need to examine best practices, yes.
So talking about rolling into the next plan, so our current plan is 2020 through 2020. In my eyes, right? So like to 2025. So if we're rolling into a new plan, we're evaluating the plan that we have, we're rolling into and creating our new plan. So is it possible that this is a 2025 to 2030 plan? Because that was a 5-year plan.
I mean, I think the title of this plan would be 2024 if we adopt it in 2024.
Yeah,
I'm just throwing it out there to
No, I
adopt
think
it as 2025.
Yeah.
Because we have a plan through 20,
Right.
but
and
not
then we're on a
calendar,
5-year.
but it's not calendar. year. So
When
Because
was
if
this
we-
one adopted?
fiscal year,
So 25. to
Yeah.
Oh,
30.
so it has to be fiscal year.
Well, it doesn't have, it's
It
whatever
doesn't
we
have-
decide
but
it to
it-
be.
it makes more, I think it's easier for it to be.
Is that how the budget?
Yeah, for the
Yeah.
budget purposes.
So we're rolling, so we're like a little late again to be,
Well, we had hoped that the
Rolling that
select
out
board would
July.
adopt it
This year.
this month. Yeah, this year,
Okay.
2024.
I needed to get my head around that. So we're a little behind getting that to the new fiscal
But
year.
it's gonna be a better product.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just like at this point for rolling it.
All right, so to your point,
Yes.
we have 10 minutes or 5 minutes,
Okay.
10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes.
Thank you,
So,
Carolyn.
No, and we want to respect your time and your input, so. Karen, you have input, because
I know.
we
I just
got
have some
to work on this behind the scenes, so please.
On, my pages may not be the same as yours.
Yes.
On page, my two, goal 3, objective 1.
Yeah.
Understand the specific health needs. I think it's supposed to say public health needs. It says public health later.
It was a health, yeah, that's a good question.
It-
Let me ask Hillary, because I have to look at the health.
It said,
The health
later it
needs assessment,
says.
public health.
Public health.
Okay. Ed,
Okay.
thank you.
And then in goal 4, excellence in town services, we talked about the police, fire, and the DPW, et cetera. Okay. Under objectives, under goal 1, actions. I wondered if there should be an action to increase the town program for septic system replacement for low and moderate income households. We have a program that does that, but we could increase the participation in that program as one of the action steps.
So increase
Wait,
participation.
I'm sorry, where is that?
I'm on goal 1 under the action steps. It's my page 3.
Goal 1, objective 1, right?
Goal-
Go 1, objective 1.
Yes,
Okay, increase participation, I'm just writing this.
increase participation in the town program for septic system replacement for low and moderate income households. So, one of the barriers to septic system replacements is financial.
That's a totally new suggestion, or there's something I don't see?
It's a new one.
It was a new one, although maybe it's a subset of complete all planned and available sewer hook, not that sewer
No.
hookups.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah,
so let me, we
It's just a
can go
thought.
back and,
it's just a thought.
yeah,
Collection and treatment.
yeah, I'll go back and. Phrase, okay, got it, okay.
Goal 2, I'm on page 7, which is, I'm getting lost in this.
Objective 5,
Goal 2,
yeah,
Objective 1.
objective 1. I would think in this 5-year period, we should have an action step of develop the RFP for Tea Time, Town Center Plaza, and COA. Well, we won't be ready to implement, we will be far enough by the end of 5 years. We should be far enough along to be able to develop the RFP.
Is that a rewrite of number 2?
I think it's more detailed.
I think it's
In the RFP.
measurement.
Talked about. We talked about. Yeah, how detailed we got,
Right.
so,
Well, that just says determine the best use, but
Right.
the action step is really developing the RFP.
got it,
Because
Okay.
that's gonna.
Well, but that, yeah, that was something we were trying to avoid going that detailed,
Okay,
because we're trying to kind of keep it one
so,
a step
layer,
above.
like, so
Step above.
once the highest best use is determined, once those decision points have been made at the select board level, then the execution of that is then put the RFP together, which is like, that gets staffed
Right.
out. So, because the current plan has a lot of that stuff that I think is just
Okay.
too much in the weeds of like,
Okay,
do the RFP, do the,
And
because we could have a
another-
zillion action items that is like, do the RFP, conduct the analysis of, and that's,
right.
that could
try
also
to-
be a key performance indicator, RFP released by
Right.
Q2.
That could be.
well, yeah,
performance
yeah, so that would be a way to,
Performance indicator.
Yeah.
I like that.
yeah, that's
Okay.
a good way to incorporate.
Page 8, the next page, goal 2, objective 3. A 1E, consider other property purchases as appropriate. The town just like the, 255 State Highway and 580 Massasoit. And the town opportunistically may have the opportunity to purchase another parcel of housing related property. I'd hate to see us not have it reflected in the plan that that's something that we want to do.
Sorry, Mayor, Carol, which one?
She's making.
You make me new.
Goal to objective 3, 1E,
She's creating an E.
Yeah,
Goal 2, objective 3.
1E, consider
Page 8.
other property purchases appropriate for housing.
And identify property.
It's
And
opportunities
this-
are gonna come up,
The overall one here is
Well-
complete 2 of the following.
right?
Well, I'm sorry, so goal 2, objective 3,
oh, so it should be
add
two.
5 new housing units.
Complete the
Rehabilitation,
redevelopment
redevelopment and
occupancy of
at least
all
two
of-
the following.
of at least 2 of the following town occupied.
Yeah, so it should be,
Do I have
got
it
it.
wrong?
So it should be number 2 actually, because this is 186. At least 2 of the following town owned or related property, so it should be
I was
number 2.
looking at the wrong one.
Consider other parts.
Yeah.
Right, okay,
Whichever you think is right, yes.
got it.
And
Well, but that action step.
Right,
You're
it's-
saying,
Yeah, it's
maybe
gonna
it's,
be,
it's,
it's gonna be
it's
2, it's gonna be number 2.
2, not 1E, it should
Yeah.
be 2.
It's gonna be 2.
and what was the wording you
I
suggested?
was just saying, consider other property purchases as appropriate for housing. In other words, if something comes up and we
It's
want to
gonna be a
purchase a new
catch-all.
piece of property, there's
Okay.
nowhere in here that says go do that.
Got it. Okay.
Um. But under, I'm on page 13, let's see. Goal 3, objective 5, promote wellness, physical activity and healthy eating.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, there's a duplicate. I think 4 and 7 are the same thing.
Oh, you're right. Okay, delete, table layout,
Yeah, we
delete
got-
row, got it,
We got
awesome.
seven's done.
That's so good, congrats everyone.
Yes.
All right,
I just wondered whether there should be some wording in. It struck me when I read 3.
Yep.
Improve intra-town collaboration. But what about also improving across town?
Intertown, okay.
Yeah, collaboration. Brewster's gonna be building a brand new big swimming pool.
Yeah.
On the new property.
I know,
Cool, okay,
Couldn't we,
got it.
great idea.
well. Okay, goal 4, excellence in town services, objective 1. I'm not sure exactly where this belongs, but. Like we have a capital plan. That looks out over 5 years, which I think is fabulous that we have that. Should we have a staffing plan that looks out over 5 years?
We don't.
I don't think we do. Do we, Paul? That you know of?
Not that I know.
I think we should.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm reflecting back on Jackie saying, we got the, however many, 2 or
Police
4 new police officers. It's been on her wish list for some
Right.
time. I think we need to codify that wish list.
Yes.
What are the staffing changes she anticipates because of new programs of growth in the
Population,
town,
right.
population change, et cetera. And I think that would be an action step to develop that.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
that
know,
would
I
tie-
didn't know we didn't have.
And that would tie to the budget.
Got it.
There is number 4.
says conduct performance evaluations and workflow assessments to identify areas where staffing adjustments or workflow improvements are needed. That's not the same as the staff.
No,
I know, yeah.
right,
Got it.
okay. Right where you just were, Michelle, objective 2, adopt and promote technology. 2 and 8, no, wait a minute, which ones? There's another
Another
do.
Sorry.
1 and 8.
1 and 8,
1 and 8. We got 8 done.
but don't take out 8 because you got all those KPIs.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
it.
you gotta,
but shelters,
but I think the language is the same.
yeah, you're right, but I should.
Yeah, just,
I'm
we just need to
just
copy the,
paste, got it.
yeah,
Okay,
Cut and paste.
under objective 4,
Yeah,
says, action step 1. Schedule regular joint meetings between boards, et cetera,
Yep.
and it says quarterly meetings between all the boards. I think quarterly is too often.
I think that's the annual, and
Yeah,
that's what it's in the charges. At least the 4 regulatory boards are supposed to meet annually.
and then item 3 under that same place. You view and adjust the goals and mandates of each board, et cetera. Again, I'm not sure the mandates of the boards should
The
change.
charters don't change.
The charters
Oh,
don't
okay.
change. The goals annually as they each develop their work plan.
Goals, the word goals is there.
yeah,
Right.
so just take out
And
mandates.
I think take out and mandates.
Yeah. And what about 6, given the discussion we just had? If Jackie is the point,
Right,
Oh,
I think
then
that's
6 can come out.
you know, I threw that.
No, I
Yeah,
like
I
it,
don't know if it's realistic or not, but,
Well, in light of our discussion, I think that changes to town manager
Reporting,
routinely,
yeah. Review.
at least annually.
Right. Well, but we may want to have a staff person, maybe Angie,
Right,
that is actually
right.
so number
doing all the
6,
stuff.
Right.
And
So I think,
Well, maybe it's include strategic plan updates in town manager reporting to select board. Supported by,
right,
it doesn't matter who's supporting
and
it.
the how that
And the how,
starts.
yeah, but I mean,
Is-
maybe that idea, if Jackie's already providing a town manager update. Monthly, maybe it's every quarter. She's including a strategic planning update with that town manager update.
okay, wait. We're on number 6 of objective 4, I'm sorry, I got lost.
Objective for number 6.
So,
Yeah.
what,
Designated strategic plan
Right,
coordinator is a how,
Right.
not,
I think the what would be the update, the town manager update. To
To
the
the
select board on a periodic basis. We
Right.
don't have to necessarily say how long.
the activity.
And then that's an action step that we have some accountability around, and maybe the how is we have a strategic planning coordinator.
right.
Angie.
Angie.
It's gonna be going into, project management software.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah,
like Microsoft Project.
yeah,
and in objective 6. Under that.
Yeah.
Same,
Then
in the
number
next
3.
page. Quarterly reporting, it shouldn't say quarterly reporting.
Yeah.
It should say town manager routinely reports to the select board.
Well, is that a dupe? I mean,
Well, I think it is.
it will be if I change the other one. Yeah.
well, maybe. Ensure boards, commissions, and committees work together.
One's the
The-
committees and one's staff.
Yes. So wouldn't the one that we just wordsmithed belong under?
Under this one,
Yes.
yes. And then here, quarterly reporting by the committees. Number 4, quarterly progress reviews. To assess and adjust strategies.
So there should be a quarterly reporting in number 4. And then the town manager reporting periodically to the select board belongs in 6,
Right.
right?
I
Because
think,
that's successfully complete highest priority identified strategic plan objectives by 2029.
right,
So
So you
one of
gotta-
the action steps is the town manager provides periodic updates to the select board. Right, versus ensuring committees, boards, or it could go in both.
right.
What do you think?
I think both of those sections need to be reviewed one more time and maybe
Yeah.
wordsmith.
Yeah.
You
And
do
rather than
your
do it right this
magic
minute.
hope and
Yeah.
then take a, yeah.
Yeah.
But our earlier discussion informs what we want
Yeah.
to say there.
Yep.
I agree. That concludes my report.
Thank
Wonderful,
you.
and I've
Awesome.
got to run.
You go. We,
Most wonderful people. Do
we will
have
not
another-
have quorum, so we should probably close the
I'm
meeting.
sorry.
That's okay.
Was there anything else on the agenda we needed to have to do?
No.
Do we have to
can
approve the
defer-
minutes?
We can defer that till next meeting.
Okay.
We have to make a motion to close.
We have our next meeting is,
Are they always a certain?
Yes, the second Wednesday of the month, I think.
I'm making a motion.
I move that we adjourn the
I
meeting.
second.
A second.
Okay.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.